What's up everyone, Vu of Envu Films, and I am back with another idiotic video for you to watch. And the reason why I'm making this video is I think there's a lot of people coming from other systems, video shooters who are going to want to use a Sony a7S III, switching over, probably selling off all their gear, and they're gonna need help. What kind of help? What lenses to buy? In terms of other than lenses, I think switching to Sony, you're gonna find out that your life is going to get a lot easier, especially if you've been going from GH5, I don't know, S1H, or even like Fuji, because Sony just works. If you never used autofocus before, continuous autofocus before for video, and you start using the Sony one, you're gonna be like, whoa, what the heck have I been missing? So, and I'm not just talking about me being a Sony user or Sony fanboy or whatever. This is literally what I've experienced, having other people use the Sony cameras. So I have second shooters that use GH5s as their main drivers on wedding days, but when they shoot for me, they use my Sony cameras. And that's the main thing they say is, whoa, the autofocus is amazing. It makes getting shots so much easier. And that's where I'm getting this information from. This is not just me making stuff up. The biggest myth, I think, is Sony glass is expensive. And, I want to be more specific on that. I want to say E-mount glass, which is the Sony mount. Sony E-mount glass can be expensive, but E-mount glass itself is not as expensive or not that expensive, even compared to other brands. They're probably even cheaper than, say, Canon, Nikon, and Fuji glass. So without further ado, I want to tell you the lenses I recommend for the Sony a7S III video shooting. Obviously, photos, there's other needs. You probably want big apertures and stuff like that, but this is for video shooting. And my top lens for video shooting is the Sigma 2470 DG DN. DN stands for These Nuts lens. Why is it my top pick? Because it performs just as good or better than the 2470 GM from Sony, which is more than twice the price. Depending where you buy it, it could be anywhere between $2,100 to $2,600. Whereas the DG-DN These Nuts from Sigma is about $1,100. So for $1,100, you get a 24-70 f2.8. And before you say, oh, well, f2.8, low light, you are shooting on an a7S III. So you could probably shoot at f4, f5.6, bump up some ISO, still have a great looking image. So f2.8 now on a Sony a7S III is even more versatile than what you would have gotten from shooting on an a7 III or a7R III or what have you for video. Now, if for some reason $1,100 is too expensive for you, there's also the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. And this is about $750. Very cheap for a lens that goes from 28 to 75. And to be quite honest with you, this lens, or the Sony GM, when you're using it, autofocus, image, sharpness, they're all kind of pretty much the same. So you're not getting any loss in image quality when you're going from a Sony GM to one of these other third-party glasses. What you do lose out on is probably with the Tamron build quality, not with the Sigma. Sigma is built like a tank. The Tamron is a little bit plasticky. There's probably not as much weather sealing as a G Master lens. But if you're just worried about just getting good imagery and just getting good autofocus, the Tamron 2875 is a great choice for $750 at a pretty good range. The only reason why I really like this one better is obviously it's built better, and you get the 24mm. And when it comes to deciding 28mm to 75 versus 24 to 70, the 75 is not that much more versatile than the 70mm. They're kind of the same, but the 24mm is a lot more versatile than the 28mm. So you want to spend an extra $300 to get some, or $300 to $400 to get better versatility, get the Sigma DG-DN These Nuts lens. This is my most highly recommended video lens for your Sony a7S III. If you need something wider, obviously there's a 16 to 35 GM, which is $2,100 to $2,200, a big chunk of change. And there's those 24, or where's that new one? It's 12 to 24mm, which is borderline $3,000. I don't think many of us video shooters are going to be shooting at 12 mil, but we definitely would like to shoot at 16 to 17mm for those wide epic type, you know, showing, like if you're a wedding filmmaker, you want to show the venue, 16 to 17 millimeters is quite enough. And with that, I recommend the Tamron 17 to 28 millimeter f2.8 because it is 17 millimeter is wide enough, and the image quality is just as sharp as the 16 to 35 Sony GM. And look, like if the image looks exactly the same, you're going to lose out on some weather sealing, but what you do gain without like the actual weather sealing and just like the tank duration of the GM lens, you get this light body, great for a gimbal if you're going to put it on gimbal, and just good image. So this is my recommended wide angle zoom lens for the Sony a7S III. The other lens you're going to want to look to as a professional, especially if you're a wedding filmmaker, is a telephoto zoom. And you have the 70 to 200 f4 from Sony and the 70 to 200, and you have the 70 to 200 f2.8 G Master lens. The G Master lens, again, new. It could be like anywhere between $2,200 to $2,600. Don't quote me on the exact price, but you know, I'll put the links in the description for you to take a look at. But that's a really expensive lens. It's a great lens. It is, you know, weather sealed, everything you need as a professional shooter. That lens performs very well. I don't recommend the 70-200 f4 as much. You know, it's slightly cheaper. The better buy for telephoto lenses is the 70 to 180 f2.8 lens from Tamron. Yes, you lose 20 millimeters at the long end, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference for you if you just need that long telephoto shot for a wedding day and, you know, you want a fast aperture f2.8 and it's only $1,200. And if you know where to look, it could even be $1,100. By knowing where to look, I recommend going to Green Toe if you're going to buy new lenses because they don't charge, there's no tax charges. And you'll likely save at least $50 to $100 or more because you are saving on the tax on lenses depending on how much the lens is. So I highly recommend just going to Green Toe, put in an offer, see what you get. You will likely save some money buying new glass for your Sony a7S III. Not sponsored, I'm just telling you based on what I do. So if you just stick with those zooms I recommended right there, you'd be set. I'm gonna be quite honest, you'd be set. But if you're looking for like more artsy, like be very artsy about it, and you like shooting on primes, that's when things get a little more pricey for you. So one of my favorite primes is a Sony 35mm f1.8. It is about $700 to $750, so it's quite pricey. I mean, you could get like I said, one of these Tamron zooms for the price of this prime. But this is a fantastic lens. All Sony lenses are going to be great at autofocus, and if you're, you know, some might be faster than others, but you're really nitpicking on speed in terms of like video autofocus, in my opinion. But this lens, $700, $750, great lens, highly recommended. And also the 55mm f1.8 Zeiss lens is also is an older model. It probably doesn't have the new technology as like these other lenses, but it's still autofocus very well. Sharp. Another highly recommended lens, 55mm f1.8. I think it ranges around like $600. And obviously, if you are a massive baller and, you know, if you're like some Vietnamese guy who owns like 10 nail salons and you just have a bunch of money to throw around, you could buy GM lenses. I mean, I have GM lenses. I have the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens. I love this lens, and it's the best 24mm f1.4 prime you could buy for any system. Very little distortion, very sharp. Gosh, I really have no complaints about this lens. Some people say autofocus is not that good, but I mean, Sony not that good is still very good autofocus. And of course, just this beast 135 G Master f1.8. This is just what I use for like another telephoto angle a lot of times. It's super sharp. Autofocus is just incredibly fast. Faster than an Asian lady pushing you out of the way at the grocery store for a sale. But I'm telling you, this is amazing lens, but also expensive. You know, these are all like over $1,200, over $1,300 lenses. I think they're like $1,800. Again, links are in the description if you want to take a look. Another lens to be looking forward to is, which I don't have here, but there is an 85mm Sigma DG DN. DN stands for D's Nuts lens. 85mm f1.4 Should be announced next day or so, and that thing is going to be about $1,100. So that's gonna be another good 85 f1.4 prime to look into. But if you want to save money on a really solid, like, I mean, pretty much there's nothing to complain about it in terms of quality, is the Sony 85mm f1.8 lens, which is around like $500 to $600, $500 to $600 for 85mm f1.8 prime. You cannot beat that. The one lens that you're gonna find that's very cheap on Sony that I would absolutely avoid is a 50mm f1.8 Sony lens. Just do not buy that at all. Another thing you have to be aware of is you want to buy FE lenses for the Sony a7S III. If you just buy the straight E mount, not FE mount, the E mount is APS-C lens. So just make sure that you do your due diligence buying lenses that they are for full frame and not a crop sensor, Sony, because you're going to have vignetting. You're going to have this huge vignette because it's designed for a smaller sensor. All the lenses I'm mentioning here right now to you are full frame glass, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it if you buy these lenses instead of just randomly choosing whatever you find on B&H Photo. So I hope this video helped you out. If whether you are a longtime Sony shooter or a switcher coming from Panasonic, Canon, Nikon, whatever, because the Sony a7S III just fits all your needs. Again, top picks: Sigma 2470 DG/DN D's Nuts lens, $1,100, 24 to 70, great build quality, weather sealing, all of that trash that you need to be a professional shooter is in this lens. Highly recommended. Cheap option, 28 to 75 Tamron. For really wide angle, 17 to 28mm Tamron. And for telephoto zoom, Tamron 70 to 180 f2.8. Again, these lenses aren't as weather sealed, so if you are, not shooting under a waterfall, if you are not shooting like wedding films in Antarctica, if you're not shooting a wedding or some other documentary in a volcano, these Tamrons will be fine for you. Sigma will probably withhold a lot better, but yeah, stay tuned, guys. A lot of new lenses coming out for the Sony E-mount system. A lot of third-party releases coming out. I heard even from like Viltrox and all those things. So anyways, guys, if you found this video helped you out, if you just like the content, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel. That'll be greatly appreciated. It'll definitely help me out a lot. So till next time, line up.